Hello, students. Welcome to the Module 4 live session for the Ethics Around the Globe course. This week, our topics are Confucian ethics and African ethical theory. Let's get started. There is a picture of Confucius. He lived from 551 to 479 BC. Confucianism originated in the ancient state of Lu. You can see it's just below Beijing on the map. That's where Confucius was born and spent most of his life. Over the centuries, Confucianism spread to Korea and Japan. Let's talk about some of the central notions in Confucian ethics. One is metaphysics, which looks at the order of the universe, ontology, and cosmology. For Confucius, there was a Tao, the way, the ultimate, the one, the absolute, the underlying power, and the source. Yin and yang is a dual expression of the Tao. Neither is superior to the other. You're probably familiar with that from Chinese martial arts. For Confucius, the plural world, the universe, heaven and earth, was an ever-changing expression of the blend of the yin and the yang. So there's a symbol you've seen before. Basically, the yin and the yang just represent different attributes: female, male, dark, bright, cool, hot, moist, dry, passive, active, negative, positive, evil, and good. A basic difference between the Chinese conception of yin and yang and other classical philosophical dualisms is that whereas most dualisms are forever in conflict, the yin and yang always act in harmony. Both are considered to be necessary to maintaining the order of the universe. Confucius's primary goal was to have order, harmony, peace, and happiness here in this life on earth. He also considered the philosophy of art known as aesthetics, which is the moral and political purposes of art, such as music. The area of philosophy that we'll be looking at will be his moral philosophy, Confucian ethics. But he also considered social and political philosophy, which is a theory of the government. And Confucius believed that we needed moral and intellectually virtuous rulers and civil servants. So, your Module 4 written assignment is focused on the central themes in Confucian ethical theory. So let's review what they are. One is the Chun Tzu, which is the idea of the superior, self-actualized, virtuous, and perfected person. The Chun Tzu is an exemplification of the ideal virtues of Yi, Ren, Li, and Cao. Yi refers to the righteous, just, and appropriate conduct. According to Confucianists, there is an objective, absolute, and unconditional moral obligation on all human beings to work for the universal human well-being and the common good and the general welfare. And this obligation is objective. It is not subjective, it's not relative. This obligation is independent of any culturally or individual variable states of opinion, preference, feelings, or response. Similar to Kantian ethics, it is absolute. The Yi extends throughout the whole sphere of moral obligation, cannot be suspended or overruled by any more basic or ultimate moral principle with a wider range of application. It's unconditional. This obligation does not depend on the fulfillment or the non-fulfillment of any particular set of facts or conditions. For example, it doesn't depend on desires, aspirations, or goals. So Yi is a central concept in Confucian ethics: righteous, just, and appropriate conduct. Another important concept in Confucian ethics is Ren. This virtue is a love for humanity, not to be confused with any romantic love. It is a cultivation of a feeling of respect, empathy, compassion, and a love for all humanity. I think if you think of Princess Diana, who died 24 years ago, she would be a person who exemplified Ren because she loved humanity, she loved charity, she loved social work, she loved getting out there with people who were sick, people who were disabled, people who were suffering, and she wanted to advocate them. She had a deep feeling of empathy, compassion, and love for all humanity. That's why people are still talking about her 24 years later. Ren would be if you see a homeless person and you stop and offer them some money, some food, some clothes. It's a feeling of empathy and a love for all humanity. Another central theme in Confucian ethics is Li, which is the proper conduct. And along with that proper conduct is the doctrine of the mean. We're seeing that again. The middle way, the golden mean. The proper conduct in Confucian ethics is always in relation to one of these 5 constant relationships: proper conduct between parent and child, husband and wife, elder sibling, younger sibling, elder friend, younger friend, and ruler subject. Filial piety is a central theme in Confucian ethics, known as Zhao. It's a devotion and reverence for your parents and your family. For in Confucian ethics, the institution of the family is the foundation of a well-ordered and civilized society, grounded mainly on respect of children for parents and respect for age, experience, and wisdom. When is the learning in the arts? For Confucius, the importance culture was important in the creation of the maintenance of a well-ordered society. He felt people should study and learn the arts and especially music. Let's talk a little bit about Confucius's political philosophy, seeming very relevant these days as politicians are in the news constantly and on social media. T is the ideal union of power and virtue. A good civil servant should have moral goodness, virtue and propriety, rationality, moderance, and benevolence. So think about the civil servants that you know in your state, in your city, in your town, your mayor, your governor, your state legislators. And can you think of one that represents T, which is the ideal union of power and virtue? Can you think of a civil servant, a president, a senator, a ruler, you know, that has moral goodness, virtue, propriety? Can you think of a politician that has rationality, shows moderation and benevolence? Because these are the important things when it comes to Confucius's view of a political philosophy. We are going to move on to our second topic this week, which is African ethics. African ethics is mostly oral traditions that were passed down. It's not really written so much. And African ethics is directly related to the culture and the survival of the tribe. So let's take a look at the African ethical traditions, keeping in mind the good life and the moral life. While Africans may explain morality in terms of self-realization or personal well-being, they also explain the moral life in terms of the impact of personal actions on members of the community. One focuses attention on duties to self, while the other focuses attention on the duties to the other members in the community. There's a taint of relativism in basing moral standards on what a community prescribes or approves, but yet Africans do not necessarily equate the moral life with their way of life. Unlike relativists who base right and wrong on what societies, cultures, or communities approve or disapprove, the view most often articulated by Africans is without the added premise that something is right just because it's endorsed by the group or the tribe or the community. Instead, Africans live their lives as if they believe they were living the right way, according to their traditions. One of the important notions in African ethics is good character. Society should impart moral knowledge to its members, making them aware of the moral values and principles of that society. For Africans, character is acquired. A person is therefore responsible for the state of his or her character. Similar to Aristotle's notion of virtue, African ethics holds that character results from the habitual actions of a person. If you want to have good character, demonstrate that in your actions. Have moral habits. Get in the habit of doing things ethically, and you will develop character. It is similar, again, of Aristotle's notion of virtue. Another central theme in African ethics is humanism. The doctrine that takes human welfare, interests, and needs as fundamental constitutes the foundation of African ethics. What do you think about when you see images of Africa on television or in the news or in social media? A lot of it is about human survival, right? Getting basic needs met, making sure communities have clean water, housing, clothes, and food. So there is a humanism in African ethics. The right conduct is always relative to the human situation. Morality is not oriented from any absolute standards, nothing like Kantian ethics, but from the social good in each situation. Conduct that promotes smooth social relationships and that upholds the social structure is good. Conduct that runs counter to smooth social relationships is bad. Looking at the tribal foundations, the greatest happiness and good of the tribe in Africa was the aim of each member of the tribe. Now, again, utility may form the basis of many moral codes, but looking at the Bantu tribe in Africa, it formed the basis of morality, which is utilitarian. And that means maximizing happiness, making decisions in the best interest of the tribe. This was the standard of goodness in harmony with and conformity to this and must the moral conduct be molded, which in effect is altruism. The two concepts of humanity and brotherhood also feature prominently in African social and moral thought and practice. They are among the moral and human values that constitute the basic and perhaps ultimate criteria that not only motivate, but also justify human actions that affect other human beings. Let's take a look at some of the Akan tribe's rules, or a maxim is a rule. According to the Akan tribe, humanity has no boundary. A human being's brother is another human being, and the human being is more beautiful than gold. What do you think that means? To say that a human being is worth more than a possession or jewelry or money or a material thing. Well, what happens if you get in trouble? It's a human being that you're going to call upon for help. If you call upon your gold watch, it answers not, right? If you're depressed, you call upon cloth, it answers not. But the human being is what counts. The human being is more beautiful than gold. And according to Akan tribal maxims, a human being's brother is actually another human being. So strong sense of brotherhood running through African ethics. The common good manifests prominently in African ethics. It's a notion of that which is essentially good for human beings, as such, bracing the needs that are basic to the enjoyment and fulfillment of the life of each individual. If the common good is achieved, then the individual good is also achieved. Because it's believed that there's no human being who does not desire peace, security, freedom, dignity, respect, justice, equality, and satisfaction. You may have heard that before, but we heard that last week when we listened to the Dalai Lama state his beliefs on global ethics. There is no human being who does not desire peace, security, freedom, dignity, respect, justice, equality, and satisfaction. Do you think you could apply that to today's world? Well, looking at global ethics, specifically the situation in Afghanistan, as we saw America end a 20-year war and an occupation of Afghanistan, and we saw a lot of human rights violations and atrocities during the last week or so as America departed Afghanistan and ended our involvement in the war. And we saw the Taliban take over. Do you believe that ISIS values peace, security, freedom, dignity, respect, justice, equality, and satisfaction? How about the Taliban? How about the citizens of Afghanistan? What about the American soldiers? Do they desire peace, security, freedom, dignity, respect, justice, equality, and satisfaction? I think once you apply this concept, there may be room for some cultural and subjective relativism, because we can certainly identify certain people and certain cultures who do not desire peace, security, freedom, dignity, respect, justice, equality, and satisfaction. Let's take a look at some of the other central theories in African ethics. And one is that ethics is, again, social and not individualistic. And this is, again, expressed in the Akan tribe's maxims. The well-being of man depends on his fellow man. The right arm washes the left arm, and the left arm washes the right arm, right? You can't wash one arm by itself. It's the idea of that life is mutual aid. A human being needs your help. Your neighbor's situation is potentially your situation. For example, what happens if there's a fire at your neighbor's home? Would it behoove you to get involved in putting that fire out? Food for thought. African ethics deals with duty and not rights. African ethics is a humanitarian ethics, the kind of ethics that places a great deal of emphasis on the concern for the human welfare. As we can see, is survival is such a key issue, especially in Central Africa. Just trying to survive, to get clean water, to get housing, to get clothes, to get schools. There's a concern for human welfare, and we see that, right, when donors like Bill Gates go over and philanthropists like Oprah go over, there's a concern for human welfare in Africa. So there's a focus on the morality of duty, which is one that requires each individual to demonstrate concern for the interests of others. To some extent, it is utilitarian, because the goal is to act in a way that maximizes the best interests of everyone in the community. The African humanitarian ethic makes all people objects of moral concern, implying that our moral sensitivities should be extended to all people, irrespective of culture or society, bringing us back again to global ethics. Can you be as concerned for someone in the Middle East who is suffering the same way you would be concerned if a family member is suffering, or a member of your church, or a member of your community, or your next door neighbor? Is the person in Afghanistan entitled to moral consideration, right? What is our duty in that case? What should we be doing to protect the rights of people in other cultures and other parts of the world? Food for thought. This information was obtained from the plato.stanford.edu website, which is always a decent website to use when you're looking up philosophical theories. Let's talk about our Module 4 assignments. So you have another opportunity to be creative this week in your media assignment, which focuses on the concepts of Confucian ethics. For this assignment, demonstrate your understanding of Ren, which is that love for humanity, not a romantic love, but a concern for all other human beings, a compassion, an empathy. You want to discuss the other key concepts of Confucian ethics: Sao, filial piety, Li, Yi. Choosing from any of the following options, you can write a poem that is at least 1 page long about Ren and the other Confucian ethical concepts. And when I read your poem, I should understand the meaning of Confucian ethics. You can write lyrics or write music to a song. Again, the song and the lyrics need to be your own original tune. And again, they need to express a script or a commercial, a movie poster. A lot of students choose a PowerPoint presentation because that gives you an opportunity to discuss the concept and find clip art that demonstrates the concept, like filial piety or Ren or Confucian ethical concepts. Be sure to cite to some resource where you found that information. You can also, again, create a movie poster, travel brochure, pamphlet, but it needs to be about Confucian ethics. It can't be about traveling to the Bahamas. It could be about traveling to China, to the ancient state of Lu, and meeting with Confucian and talking about ethics. So again, this assignment is due Sunday, September 5th. Be sure to use images and clip arts and words to convey your understanding of Ren and the other Confucian ethical concepts. Well, this brings us to the end of our Module 4 live session. And your live session question for this week is, what are 3 central concepts in African ethics? Please be sure to submit that assignment by Sunday, September 5th. If you have any questions or concerns, my e-door is always open and available to you. Just feel free to reach out and I will get back to you. Have a great week.